I've been a real estate investor for 10 years and I still don't have it figured out. Looking back, I definitely have some regrets. Here are some of the lessons I learned the hard way so you don't have to. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in Las Vegas, I love to help. You can find all my contact information at thethomasgrouplv.com, and I'll be extension 9 for Shawna. These are just some of the mistakes I've made during my real estate journey. Leave a comment below with some of the mistakes you've made and we could commiserate together. From being a real estate investor to now being a realtor, I can look back on my portfolio a little more holistically, and I'm gonna list some of my top regrets so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. My first mistake was not being flexible with my price. So I'm gonna let you in on my first home purchase in 2012, which was my first primary home that I house hacked. My realtor at the time showed me a home that was on the higher end of my budget, but it had more than what I was looking for. It had a larger square footage, a premium lot in the community, and a pool. I thought it was a fantastic deal, and so did a few other people. However, during the offer process, it came down to me and one other buyer, and it came back to me that I needed to come up $10,000 in order to get my offer accepted. It was still within my pre-approval amount. However, I was so stuck on the parameters that I set for myself and the budget that I had in mind. I ended up purchasing another home in that same community, which was an exact model match, however, without the premium lot or the pool. And today, that first home is actually appraised about over $100,000 more than the home I purchased. Looking back, I definitely regret not increasing my budget and offering the $10,000 more for the first home. I think it's important to work within your budget. However, that initial $10,000 wouldn't have affected my monthly mortgage payment significantly, and I wish I would have just made that offer price higher in order to get that $100,000 appreciation now. I think if you do find a good deal and it could work within your monthly mortgage budget, you should really be flexible on your offer price in order to capture some long-term appreciation. Knowing when the market has changed. I purchased my first real investment property 1 year after I purchased my primary home, and the market had fundamentally changed at that point. However, mentally, I was still stuck in the market when I bought my original primary home. And it took me a lot longer to pull the trigger and purchase my first investment home because I wasn't adapting to the market changes. And I think it's really common right now with a lot of real estate investors because we don't have great interest rates like in 2021, and housing prices haven't significantly decreased. However, I think it's important to really strategize for the market we're in and not comparison to the market before us. Not moving enough. This one I'm super guilty of. The quickest way to building a real estate portfolio is buying a primary home every year, creating some forced equity, converting that into a rental, and then buying a new primary home. I really regret not following this cycle because I hate moving. It's my own personal nightmare. So it took me longer to build my portfolio because I had to save more for a larger down payment for an investment home rather than buying a new primary every year. Not having a real estate investor community. I think it's so great that now there's so many real estate investors that are also content creators. Growing up, I just had to read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Intelligent Investor, but now there's so much access to so many different real estate investors. I think it's super important to build your own little community. You can find so many real estate investors on all sorts of social media platforms, but I also really love Bigger Pockets, so you can find a localized real estate investor community. I think it's great to listen to other real estate investor strategies. However, I think it's most important to listen to your own gut feelings because all real estate investors have different investment goals, different risk tolerance, and different capital that they can pull from, and that might not necessarily work in the market you're in. So hear everyone's different strategies, but tailor it so it fits your personal investment goal. Not raising rental prices. I've seen a lot of self-managing investors fall into this trap, and I have too, when you have a really great tenant in place, you're kind of reluctant to raise rental prices because they're such great tenants. I've seen investors have tenants in place for 10 plus years and never raise the rent. And when they're ready to sell the property, they will do some slight remodels and then list the house for sale. However, if I come in and bring a buyer client that's an investor, the first thing I'm going to ask the seller is, what was the property being rented for the past 2 years? And if the property isn't being rented at market value, I'm going to advise my client not to pay market value for that same property. I'm Shawna, your investor specialist. If you're thinking about buying or selling in Las Vegas, I'd love to help. You can find all my contact information at thethomasgrouplv.com, and I'll be at extension 9, and I'll see you in the next video.